A very good afternoon to all my dear students and welcome to the lecture of Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2. Dear students, I hope you all are doing well in this good climate and studying well. Now students, so far till now in the previous lectures of 2 weeks we have studied the theory and again we have solved the practical sums. Around 14 sums we have solved, including your short sum and long sum regarding your liquidators chapter. Fine. Now again this week we'll be again doing the liquidators sum. Fine. As such I have not given you any sums today, you must be wondering, but today students I'll be again revising the entire chapter, the points which we had done for your practical sums, right? Then we'll be solving 2 to 3 short sums today also. We'll be again revising the points whatever we have done in the all previous lectures so that it will be helpful to you. Then I'll provide you the list of long sums by evening or by tomorrow for your practice also, right? Again this week we'll be concluding this chapter. I suppose you must be having enough practice with this and you must be clear with this part. Fine. So today students will be going through the theoretical aspect of this chapter. We'll be seeing two different type of short sums also. You'll be calculating it along with in the lectures only. Fine. So let's begin students. We'll see as when the flow of the lecture goes. Fine. So company liquidation students, right? Again very brief revision of whatever we have done in the last all the lectures. What do you mean by company liquidation students? Liquidation is, now you must be aware whatever we are doing in the practical sums also, whenever a company goes into liquidation, that is a company closes down, right? We need to prepare a liquidator statement of receipt and payment, right? So for that you require liquidation accounts. Fine. Now I'm not going much in your theoretical aspects, that is covered in the previous lectures. We'll be going through the points which are helpful to you in your practical sums. Fine. Those who are knowing it, it will be a revision for you. Those who are attending again not regularly, it will be again a knowledgeable session for you. Fine. So what you do basically, right, in all the previous sums whatever we have done students, you have been given one sum. In that various kinds of information will be given. The balance sheet of the old company will be given, right? That is company which is going to close down. Then students you will be given the informations may be related to assets realized, that may be related to liquidators remuneration. Liquidators remuneration again, that may be related to liquidation expenses. Then how much amount is to be paid to preference shareholders, how much amount is to be paid to debenture holders, how much to preferential creditors, how much to unsecured creditors, how much to secured creditors, so on and so forth, right? So we'll be again going through whatever we have done in the very first lecture of this chapter. Fine. Now the disbursement, as you can see students, are made by the liquidator in the following order. Now when you do this chapter particularly, you need to follow the order, right? This order is first, as you all know, it is fully secured creditors, right? Now you all are aware of the chapter, so it will be a quick revision for you people. First you pay students to fully secured creditors, right? Fully secured creditors, what it is we'll see. After fully secured creditors you always pay liquidation expenses. Now it will be very much clear to you because we have solved lots of sums for this. Then liquidation expenses, this also includes your legal charges and liquidators remuneration, right? So first in the sequence comes secured creditors, second is your legal charges and remuneration, third is your preferential creditors, fourth is your debenture holders or other creditors who have floating charge over the assets, right? So debenture holders, along with that we also pay outstanding interest and additional interest. Unsecured creditors includes all those creditors which are not included in the above list. Preference shareholders, right? Preference shareholders, again you need to pay them, and equity shareholders, whatever the balance amount is you need to pay to your equity shareholders. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Now the next part students, we'll see each and every topic in detail, right? Okay, what is fully secured creditors, what do you include in there? The very first, the name itself says fully secured creditors, right? What are fully secured creditors? Fully secured creditors are those creditors who are having a certain charge over a specific asset. For example, now I'll relate every point with our sums, right? For example, in our sums we had certain creditors have a fixed charge over furniture, certain creditors mortgage loan is over your, again we can say, plant and machinery, right? So what we used to do, we used to sell those assets and then we used to pay this secured creditors, right? So those creditors to whom specific assets are pledged, whose realizable value is equal to or more than the amount of debt, are fully secured creditors, right? So realizable value value again equal to either loan is 50,000 and furniture is 50,000, either loan is 50,000 and furniture is 70,000. So what we used to do, we used to pay 50,000 rupees to the loan and 20,000 we used to realize the surplus on the receipt side, right? So I suppose it is clear to each and every student. That is secured creditors. What do you include in that? The very first is all wages or salary, including wages payable from time work or salary, right? So we used to always calculate this secured creditors. Don't get confused between preferential creditors and secured creditors, students, right? Preferential creditors, we are having a very exhaustive list. In that you have to do it. Fine. Now the second is any compensation payable to workmen under your Industrial Dispute Act, right? All accrued holiday remuneration, all amounts due as compensation and provident fund, pension, gratuity or payment for any maintenance by welfare of workers, right? I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Next is liquidation expenses, right? Very simple. Always in your sum direct, it will be given. Liquidation expenses are suppose 5,000, 10,000. Directly you have to write down on the receipt side after your secured creditors are paid, right? This may include your auctioneer's charge, cost of notice in newspaper. They generally give you directly. Next is your preferential creditors, the most important thing, right? If you remember this, the sum which I gave you in the last lecture, that was your question number 9, right, was based on this thing only. That also will solve in this lecture. I hope you must have already done because it was for your self-study, that is your homework. Fine. The very first among preferential creditors is amount payable to government payable within last 12 months, right? So that amount which is payable to the government, maybe municipal taxes, maybe income taxes. So we also saw this in previous last sum, that was of VNSDU 2019, right? Two types of taxes were given of 2017-18, 2018-19, right? So what we did was we took the amount which was of related to your last year only, right? It will be in preferential creditors. The remaining amount will be taken in unsecured creditors. So remember always amount payable within last 12 months. Next is salary of an employee 4 months or actual or 20,000, right? That also you will see in this sum. Today we are going to do. Accrued holiday remuneration, any remuneration, any accrued holiday, this point also came in one of the sums, so you have to consider. Contribution to employee state insurance for last 12 months only, right? So any contribution which is made for the employee state insurance for last 12 months, that you need to take. PF, gratuity, pension, etc. I hope it is clear, right? So what is the difference between here it is your provident fund, pension, gratuity or payment from any other fund maintained by the company, right? So if it is company's maintained fund, you take it here, right? So if it is just simple given, kindly take it in your preferential creditors, and majority of the times in your sum it will be given here only, right? I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Next is creditors having floating charge. The basic here in your sum will always be your debentures, right? Debenture holders will be given. Again, debenture holders, in that you have to give. That was related to your principal amount and that is related to your interest, that is outstanding interest if any given in the sum, and there is again additional interest, right? Now many students ask me the query that why sir in the first sum or the second sum we have taken outstanding interest and the next sum it is not taken, right? Whenever in the balance sheet itself it is given outstanding debentures, then you need to take it, right? And upon them when you charge additional interest is charged when there is a difference between the balance sheet date and the payment of your liabilities. Hope it's clear to each and every student. Next is unsecured creditors, right? What do you take, students, in unsecured creditors? Any amount which is left surplus in the hands of liquidator after paying all above type of creditors, right? We generally saw that is creditors are there, bills payable are there, bank overdraft are there, which are not secured, right? Apart from that, any amount which is again regularly not paid in above categories, then it is taken in this amount, that is of your preferential creditors, right? I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Next is your, this will include trade creditors, bills payable. You have excess of claims, partly secured creditors over the value of right. Partly secured also we saw in one of the some students, right? That some amount was secured, so that was paid at a particular point of time, and then this amount was taken, right? So that was related to your partly secured creditors. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Next you are having is your Anything left after this will be returned to preference shareholders and equity shareholders, right? Preference shareholders. Now again here you need to see, first you need to total up the receipt column, then from that you need to total up all the payments up till your unsecured creditors. Any surplus left out will be paid to preference shareholders. If any dividend is also there, then that dividend is also to be paid to preference shareholders, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 year, depending upon the sum, right? After all this is completed, you need to see the balance amount to be paid to equity shareholder, right? If only one type of equity shareholder is there, there is no issue. When there are more type of equity shares, right, maybe type A, type B, type C with same face value or same other face value, maybe with same face value but called up and paid up amount is different, right? So we solved the university sum of 2019 with capital deficiency also, right? So I hope that sum covers each and every part of the chapter. If you have practiced that well, then you must be very much smooth and clear with this chapter. Fine. So equity shareholder, whatever the case may be, you have to deal with that. Fine. Again, calls in areas point we also saw. This was the statement we saw generally, right? Whatever the preferences we have seen, that is given. First will be always cash balance return on the receipt side, surplus from secured creditors, that is again we saw. Now I give you the example of furniture, 70,000, 50,000, assets realized, calls on partly paid up shares, right? This is the point which we saw on the last lecture. Secured creditors, liquidation expenses, preferential creditors, that is creditors owing floating charge, unsecured creditors, preference shares, unpaid dividend, right? This here it will be added. Equity shareholders, remaining amount. Hope it's clear to each and every student, right? This is what we are doing since last 15 days in the liquidation chapter. Hope it's clear. Now one of the short sums which you have practiced and which is only asked generally in your exams, right? Generally two type of short sums are asked. One is related to your liquidator's remuneration, surplus left out, and the second is related to your, we can say, the preferential creditors, right? So here you need to study, students, the amount which is insufficient. How you generally do it? Same logic I gave you. Just add up the liquidator's remuneration percentage in 100. Suppose 2% is to be given, consider it to be 102, compare it with the amount of the balance, right? Here the example is insufficient amount is 10,200, right? So how much will be paid? So again take, if 102 equals to the balance amount, what will be 2 equals to? That will give you the amount of liquidators remuneration. If I take 100, then it will give me the amount of paying to the unsecured creditors or either any of the parties. Hope it's clear. So 102, if it is 5%, 105, if it is 7%, 107, if it is 1%, 101 equals to. You have to just put it in equation. Remember this equation very well. 3 marks. Hope it's clear. Fine. Moving on, right? This sum I gave you in the last lecture, that was of VNSU 2016. I suppose every student must have solved this sum and you are ready with the solution, right? Assumptions may prove to be wrong, but I suppose you believe in proving the assumptions right. So what is the sum about, students? It was the calculate the amount of preferential creditors. Amongst that, the very first was outstanding salary of 4 clerks for 2 months, monthly rupees 11,000 each, right? Outstanding salary is for 4 clerks and it is for 2 months, right? And monthly is 11,000 each. So you need to calculate. We'll see the solution also. First we'll discuss it. Provident fund 22,500. Definitely it will come in preferential creditors. Staff welfare fund also it will come in your preferential creditors. Outstanding municipal tax for the current year, right? So I told you in the previous year, last 12 months, you need to consider it. So what will be the answer? We'll be saying director's fees, okay, and outstanding income tax before 2 years, right? It is 2 years back, students. So this will definitely not be there. Fine. Okay. Moving on to the solution, right? I hope you all must have solved this sum. I have given you already in the Google Classroom also. So what amount you will be taking, right? So here the amount of preferential creditors, the very first thing you will be taking is the outstanding salary of 4 clerks for 2 months, right? So how much it will be? 4 clerks 2 months, then it will be 80,000 rupees. Why? 20,000 is the maximum cap. So if it is 4 clerks, then it will be 80,000 rupees. I hope it is clear. Fine. Then the next is your maximum 20,000 into 4 months that I told you. Provident fund, definitely you will be taking 22,500. Staff welfare fund also you will be taking 4850. Outstanding municipal tax for current year you will be taking 7950, right, as I told you. Director's fees will not be taken into account, students. Keep in mind, it neither comes in your value of your preferential creditors, and the last 2 years tax will also be not be considered, right? If you total it up, your total amount comes to 1,15,300. This is asked for your 4 marks, students, right? So if you are clear with the concept, you may move ahead very smoothly. I hope it is done. So this is VNSDU 2016. 40 seconds to note this down. Those who have not done it, question you already have with you, just talking about your solution. Fine, just note it down, students. I hope it is done, each and every one. Fine. Moving ahead, students. Again, one more sum for you people, right? You can note this down. First of all, we will discuss it. I'll provide you also in Google Classroom, right? But you have to do it right now only so that we can solve together. The very first thing, whatever given is based upon your last sum, that is your VNSU 2019 of your capital deficiency, which we solved, right? Long sum. The liquidator of a company has cash on hand rupees 5,75,000. The capital structure of a company is as follows, right? So what has been given, students? The type of shares is given A, B, C. Just accept taken out from your long sum. Number of equity shares you can see, that is 10,000, 8,000 and 4,000. The face value is given 100, 150, right? Paid up share value, I am concerned with this value and number of shares, right? This will give me the total amount which is to be paid. Paid up share value is 75, total is 100. Paid up share value is 70, there it is 100. Paid up share value is 35 and it is 50, right? Now what is asked, students? You need to calculate the capital deficiency. So what, just imagine we have completed the entire long sum and the last step we are upon is this short sum, right? What liquidator is having? After doing the total of receipt minus payment side up to your preference shareholders, this amount is remaining 5,75,000, and you have to calculate the capital deficiency, right? Only capital deficiency. So what you will do, right, as a student, what you will think, last lecture we did the same thing. What you will first see, how much paid up capital you are having that you need to pay, right? So how you will get the paid up capital, students? Think over it for a while. How much payment I need to make? You will get from this two columns, right? This two columns shows you how much payment you need to make. For example, if I ask you for type A equity share, how much amount you need to pay back? So you will say 10,000 into 75, sir, right? So you will have to pay back 7,50,000. Next is you will say 8,000 into 70 rupees per share, right? So that will be amount to be paid to share B. 4,000 into 35. So that will be again to be paid to equity share C, right? So what I'll simply do is, in order to find out the capital deficiency, I will total all the paid up capital of the shares and then I'll deduct the amount which I have already, right? The amount which you are having in your cash box, in your pockets, right? And the amount you need to pay. When you deduct this both, you will get the amount of capital deficiency. Simple logic to learn the accounts. Fine. So what you need to do, students, is you need to prepare the paid up capital, right? First of all, as I told you, first you need to calculate the paid up value of each shares. 10,000 into 75 gives me 7,50,000. 8,000 into 70 gives me 5,60,000. 4,000 into 35 gives me 1,40,000. I hope it is clear. So total paid up capital is 14,50,000 rupees. 14,50,000 rupees, right? Out of that you need to deduct the balance which is left out, 5,75,000. So what is my capital deficiency? My capital deficiency is 8,75,000 rupees, right? Is it clear to each and every student? This is your answer. Only capital deficiency is asked, right? They have not asked which has to be returned the money, which has to be called the money. No, they have just asked for capital deficiency, gives you the answer for 3 marks. Hope it's clear to each and every student. Fine. Again, 30 seconds to note down the sum. Those who have not yet done it, kindly note this down very quickly and understand the points. Hope it's done, students. Fine. This was the question. If you want to note this down, I'll provide you with the notes in the Google Classroom. But if you want to note this down, you can note it down quickly, the values which is there. Fine, right? So we'll be moving on ahead. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Now in this particular chapter, right, again there are only two theory questions which are repeatedly asked in your short notes, right? You have in your question paper short notes to be asked for 4 marks into 3, that is 12 marks, students, right? So these two short notes are repeatedly asked in your syllabus. Fine. So what is it? Write a note on preferential creditors, right? So what you will write for 4 marks, whatever we have discussed, right? All the conditions who are known as preferential creditors, first of all the meaning. The second thing is all the points which I made you write, right? In this again chapter also I have given the presentation, that is your my notes for this chapter also, along with the sums, right? So from that you can write down all those creditors which are included in preferential creditors, the conditions for that, and you can write down one of the example. Fine. I'll give you again that part again in some of the lectures, when after we complete the syllabus we discuss the paper pattern and how to write your exam paper of accountancy basically, right, in order to score more. So there we will be discussing once you are clear with all the parts of the syllabus. Fine. Next is your write a note on preferential creditors and unsecured creditors. This was asked last year, right? So again in every year's paper you find only this two answers coming from this chapter, right? Again theory, as I always say, is most important with your practical also, because 12 marks is much more scoring, right? And the questions are very much limited in your syllabus. From that only your short notes are asked. Fine. So we'll be practicing that also, but this is just for your knowledge. When you study with from the notes, you also study and prepare this theory questions. Fine. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Moving on. Testing your learning, what we have done today. Fine. Which of the following is considered as an unsecured creditor? Right? You have 5 seconds to think the answer in your mind. You can note down if you want, but I just want the answer. Fine. Which of the following is considered as an unsecured creditors? Unpaid taxes of local government, employees gratuity, employees provident fund, or outstanding expenses, right? Choice is yours. Just now we saw unpaid taxes of local government, okay, employees gratuity, employees provident fund, right? What answer is correct? So the correct answer is outstanding expenses, right? Because all the above 4 categories we studied in your preferential creditors. I hope it is clear. Outstanding expenses. If I add one more point, students, unpaid taxes of local government 3 years before, so that will change the statement to unsecured creditors, right? Is it clear to each and every student? Fine. Next question for you. Which of the following is considered as in preferential creditors, right? Which of the following is considered as in preferential creditors? Amongst that, the very first is unpaid taxes of local government, employees gratuity, employees provident fund, or all of the above, right? I have just changed one word and one option. So you must be clear. Unpaid taxes is a preferential creditors, employees gratuity is a preferential creditors, and employees provident fund is also preferential creditors, right? So what will be the answer? Without any doubt it will be all of the above. Hope it's clear to each and every student. Fine. Okay, so what you need to do, students, is this lecture, why I planned after this much practical sums we have done, again to brush you up with the concepts which we had studied, right? This will make your sums very much easy, because I will give you the notes, that is the practice sums. I have prepared a list of practice sums apart from whatever we have done in the classroom lectures, right? You have to solve that sums this week. In the coming two lectures, I'll conclude with this chapter and I'll start with the next chapter of your syllabus. Fine. So by the time you have to solve those sums, if any queries, any doubt, you can put it in Google Classroom, right? So I'll provide you the solutions for that also after some time, once you are done with that practice sums, right? Remember students, all the sums we have done in the classroom are your university sums only. Same pattern, same type of sums comes, right? This chapter is having a weightage of around 18 to 19 marks. More, that is again a part we can say up to 20 marks, completing your theory, short sum and long sum, right? So 20 marks comprises of your, we can say 40% of your weightage, fine. So again, practice more, learn more, understand the concepts, and you will be through from your exam. Fine. I hope it is clear. Any doubts, any part, you can again post. Feel free to post in Google Classroom. We are there to help you out. Thank you for your attention, students. Thank you for today's lecture. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 2, Corporate Accounting, SYBCom Semester 3. Have a good day ahead, students. Take care. Do well. Thank you for your attention.